And welcome back to the program. We're going to be talking about things going on in Third, and no one does that better than Robert Muchnick from Second Vice President for Third. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Well, you guys finished your budget. That's that big giant process of that goes on so long, and assessments are going up. And so let's kind of start there with what's going on with assessments.
Okay. Well, first of all, let me just back up for a second. We start the budget process really in January. And we have committee meetings, and we meet with the different directors of VMS in each of the areas like maintenance and construction, landscape, and get a feel for where they're going. Then we work through 3 different versions of the budget that they give us, and we go back and forth over those 3 different versions. And what you have now is the final result of all of that effort from January to today.
How much did it evolve along the way? Were there major changes? Were there some tweaks here and there?
Well, it depends what you consider a major change. The original budget that came in, the first draft, was over 10% increase for Third Mutual. It's now a 5% increase. So we were able to take it and cut it in half in terms of what the increase was originally thought to be.
And did you do that through savings here, reserve funds here, a little bit of everything?
It's considered like a puzzle.
Right.
And you're trying to make all the pieces of the puzzle fit. And once you get it all to fit the way you want with the 5%, so it's give and take across the board.
Okay. So the end result was that you guys have a 5%, and we have a graph that's going to kind of show a little bit of comparison with what's going on in the world of a third portion, GRF portion, and basic assessment here.
Correct. So Third, as you can see on the graphic, has gone up 5%, which means actually in terms of real dollars, $30.69 per manor per month. All right. And then the GRF portion has gone up 10%, which is, as you can see, $23.73 per manor per month, for a combined increase beginning January 1 of $54.42 per manor per month. People need to understand that inflation is running at about 2.7% right now.
Right.
And then employees for VMS, rightfully so, got a 4% raise. So that money's got to come from somewhere to cover those costs, plus all the other costs that have gone up. There's additional water that's being used, additional electricity that's being used. So those things are going up by themselves, forgetting the inflation related to them. So we kept it to 5%, which I think is reasonable given the circumstances.
Right, absolutely. And also, I imagine that, heavy on your heart and minds is the fact that so many people here are retirees and they're on fixed incomes, and they don't have that ability to go out and generate more to cover these things as they go up. So I imagine there's a lot of push and pull of the necessity of raising it against the folks that are going to be kind of challenged by that.
We're very cognizant of the fact that there's a percentage of the population here that are on fixed income. And our heart goes out to them because we understand how difficult it is and choices that they have to make. But we still have to deliver the service. So the choice is, if we don't raise, what services do we want to cut?
Right, right.
That's the bottom line. And when you talk to people, they don't want any services cut.
Of course, yeah. Everybody wants the amenities they came here for, right?
Right.
When they were first attracted to this community, they saw all the offerings, and you don't want to start chopping off little bits and pieces of the limbs of that.
Correct.
Okay, so those are the realities. I know. And now, when does the budget process start? Have you already started for next year?
No, it'll start in January.
You're going to start in January.
Yeah,
so
it's a long-term process.
It's a kind of almost a year-round event, almost, right? Let's talk a little bit about the Fire Zone Zero and what that is. It's a state mandate, right?
State mandate, and the Orange County Fire Department is directly involved. And as you can see from what's on the screen, that red zone is Zone Zero. And all of that red zone is Third Mutual. Okay, United is fortunate at this point. When they've drawn the maps this year, there are no red zones for United, but Third has the red zone. And the law now requires us, in a 3-year time period beginning this coming January, to address the issues of Zone Zero. What does Zone Zero mean? Zone Zero, I'm sorry to say, means that you can't have any plantings within 5 feet of the manor. So we have to go around and pull out all of the plantings. The question becomes, what do we replace that with? Do we replace it with anything? Our estimates at the moment are anywhere from $4 million on the low end to $12 million on the high end. What that really means is if we just pull out the plantings and leave the dirt, that'll probably cost us around $4 million.
Right.
But nobody wants that.
Right.
All right. So then another thought is, do we put in river rock so we have a consistent look? All right. That probably run about $8 million. And then if we put in the river rock 5 feet from the house, do we want to do some new plantings? If that's the case, that'll cost us about $12 million.
Right.
So that's what they're looking at starting in January. Fortunately for Third Mutual, we were able to save $1.2 million on property insurance from the last year. And we were able to move that $1.2 million in savings into the disaster fund to help offset the cost of Zone Zero for the first year.
Now, when you deal with that, does it help in terms of this? Let's say this all gets done, and you guys have the abatement done, and we have everything's away from the homes. Does that help? Do you get to turn around and say, "Hey, insurance company, look what we've done here"? Is there some sort of discount you can get when you have that abatement in a Zone Zero?
We certainly hope so. And we negotiate the insurance. The property insurance for Third Mutual the renewal date is June 1 of every year. And we were able, like I said, to negotiate and get the premium down $1.2 million from the previous year. So we're continuing to work on that. There are some very good people. Dan Yost has worked very closely with us, the risk manager from VMS. And we're working hard to make that happen.
Yeah, but there's no mandate attached to the state legislation that says if people do this, then you must insure, right? And imagine people in Palisades and things like that, when they're rebuilding, they're going to have those mandates as well. So that's something to look at. Hey, even if I do this, can I still get insurance?
It's a real issue in California. But the good news from last year was after the fire in the Palisades and Altadena and those insurance companies that got hit big time for claims, new companies came in who were not victims of that, and therefore they brought more capacity, and that's really what brought the premium down.
Okay. Well, there you go. You guys working on that. Let's talk about another fun story, dry rot. We're with all the good news. We're talking budget, fire zones, and dry rot.
The residents should know what's going on in terms of Third Mutual. As you can see from the picture, especially the one on the left, that's an example of what happens with dry rot. What dry rot is when the water comes out of the beams and out of the wood, and the wood then becomes fragile because it doesn't have the resiliency in it. That's the dry rot. So we are in the process of spending a lot of money of Third Mutual to repair dry rot, which includes, in some cases, replacement of beams in buildings. Because if the dry rot has gone back into the beams, we have to pull those beams out and put new beams in. So in terms of dry rot, if the residents really want to help to reduce the amount of dry rot we have, especially in the 3-story buildings, and I will say this, Stuart Hack of the Gardenville Association has been very supportive and working cooperatively with us to try to get the residents to understand that overwatering of plants, that water's got to go somewhere when it leaves
on the balconies of the
balconies and everything else. And that
off.
Drips in and causes the dry rot.
Because dry rot's a little bit of a misnomer because it is moisture intrusion from somewhere getting in there and causing this fungi to kind of break down the wood.
Correct.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And so have you identified in some of these things, when you identify the source, is there anything specialty you can do before you close up everything to make sure that intrusion isn't happening? If it's coming from roof, if it's coming from the balconies, things like that?
Absolutely. When we can identify, we do, but it's hard. It's because it happens over time.
Right.
It's not something that's instantaneous.
It's a bit of a slow drip, right?
Literally.
Yeah. And so, what are the costs involved in these kind of? This is a massive undertaking. We're looking at the scaffolding. You're pulling these out. You're having workers here. I imagine it's a months-long process to do these.
It's a very long process, and we keep identifying more and more of it. You know, the buildings, first of all, are 60, 70 years old. So you're going to have problems with buildings of that age to begin with. And we inspect the buildings. We're under law to inspect the balconies because I don't know if you remember, but a number of years ago there was a case in San Francisco where there were people partying on a balcony on the 3rd story. The balcony collapsed.
Collapsed, yeah.
So they then passed a law that we have to inspect the balconies. Fortunately, because we've been inspecting the balconies all along, most of them are in good shape. But we are finding a lot where people are overwatering their plants on the balconies, contributing to the problem.
And in terms of the wood you're replacing, if you're taking stuff out, is it treated wood going in? Is
Absolutely.
something like that? Yeah. So that's important to make sure that you do your best to prevent it from coming back again,
Right.
right? Okay. Let's talk about Assembly Bill 130.
Assembly Bill 130 kind of came along in the middle of the night. And all of a sudden, July 1st, we were under the guise of AB 130. And AB 130 put a cap of $100 on fines that the HOA can implement for people who are involved in violations of the rules and regulations. And so that changed dramatically what we can and cannot do, except that there is a aspect of AB 130 that talks about if it's a health or a safety violation, that the fine can be greater. So we have gone through recently, third board, as has United and GRF, and identified what constitutes a health and a safety violation, so that those penalties can be greater, because obviously that has a much greater impact on our residents. For example, running a stop sign. That has very serious safety issues related to it, especially with our population that's out and about on the streets, people in wheelchairs, people with canes, etc. So we're very concerned about that. So that becomes a safety issue, and therefore the fines associated with that kind of activity can be greater than $100. So we've rewritten all the enforcement procedures.
How many that were over that didn't really apply to the safety and that kind of thing? Were there a lot of fines that you had to kind of have a reduction in?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
And do you find that, I mean, the fines, the higher they are, they serve as a deterrent, right? So that's one of the factors in that. But if you reduce them to 100, somebody says, okay, it's just a...
Sure. Let's give you an example. Let's suppose it's an unpermitted remodel by somebody. And the fine is $100, and they're doing a $30,000 remodel.
Right.
They don't care about the $100 fine. So yeah, there are those that fall into that kind of category, but that's the new law, and we're required to follow it.
And like you said, no warning, it just kind of came out of the blue, or you just didn't know it was coming?
Had no knowledge of it coming. The HOA, state organization, didn't realize it was happening, and it was kind of passed in the middle of the night and implemented the next day.
Oh. That's kind of a tough
Thank you, Sacramento.
That's kind of a tough one. So yeah, that's a kind of a big deal. Yeah. Let's talk a little about the automated gate pilot program you guys are trying to maybe have.
No. Don't say you guys are trying to.
You guys. No, GRF.
The gates are controlled by the Golden Rain Foundation, GRF. Third Mutual does not have any role in the gates and the control of the gates. GRF is talking. I want to make this clear. They're talking about automating one gate as a pilot project. Now, I will say this. I have not talked to one resident who is in favor of an automated gate. Everybody I've talked to is opposed to it, and I'm talking a large number of residents. Third board, the vast majority of the third board members are also opposed to an automated gate at this point in time. And we will do what we can on behalf of the residents to try to derail that project that GRF is thinking about.
Okay.
They put money in the budget, but they don't actually have a plan yet.
They don't have a plan yet, okay. So what is the argument against automating some of the gates?
People are very concerned. They moved here for the safety and security of living behind a gate. And they're concerned that if you automate a gate, what happens if the gate doesn't work? What happens if there's a situation where an ambulance has to get in and now the gate doesn't work and that delays the ambulance by another 2-3 minutes? What happens if people just walk in behind another car? What happens if somebody punches in the number and 2 cars go through, right? And how many people are going to have the code for the automated gate? It could be thousands of people who don't live in the community. So they like the idea and feel safer with gate ambassadors.
Gate ambassadors right there. Have you heard the argument from GRF in terms of why they were even thinking about this? Is it just
Save
strictly
money.
a cost? Okay.
I believe, I could be wrong, and I don't want to put words in the mouth of GRF, but my understanding is that if you do away with the gate ambassadors, the idea is you save some money.
And that's kind of a slippery slope, right? Because you're mandated. You have a fiduciary responsibility to try to find savings wherever you can for your residents, and you have to balance that with the safety concerns, or what are we giving up, and the kind of the pull back and forth of that, right? So that's kind of be a challenge, right?
Absolutely. Listen, I understand the challenge for GRF.
Right.
They're looking to save money. They're looking to generate revenue in other areas, and it's an ongoing problem. This, I don't think, is the right way to save some money, though.
Okay. So they're looking for cost-effective ways to save money. Maybe look elsewhere. Do other people plan on going to the GRF meetings, talking about this?
I understand there's a petition that's circulating among residents indicating their desire not to have this happen. I have not seen the petition, but I've heard that it's out there. And if it comes an opportunity for some third board members to speak, they will speak against it.
Okay, well, there we go. I want to thank you, Robert Muchnick, for coming in today and telling us all the updates that we can on Third.
Absolute pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. And get to another meeting. I know you got one coming. Thanks for being here.
Yeah.
You're watching This Day. We'll be right back.